Okay, today we are setting up EmulationStation Desktop Edition. This is the latest version of ESDE, which is version 3.2.0, which released around a week and a half back of recording this video. So what we're going to do today, we're going to set up EmulationStation itself, we're going to set up retroarch so we can play our games, and I'm also going to set up a few different systems such as the Commodore 64. A lot of people struggle with getting to grips how to use virtual keyboards for older computer systems like that. We're also going to do a little more complex, such as the PlayStation 1 and how to add BIOS files into RetroArch. And I'm also going to show you how to set up Screen Scraper to download artwork and maybe some preview videos too. So everything I'm going to do in this video today, link's going to be in the description for the websites used. So let's crack on. So first of all, what we're going to do is actually download the latest distribution of ESDE. So we're going to go to the website for this, and if we just scroll down, we're going to find some links here to download. Now I'm going to download the portable version of ESDE. We've also got the Windows in store, but like I say, personally I'm going to download the Windows portable. So it's literally just a case of left clicking Windows portable, and that's going to download, as we can see just there. Okay, the next thing we're going to need to download for this guide is RetroArch. So we're going to scroll down and I'm going to find the Windows Download Edition. We got the 64-bit and we got the 32-bit. Now, if you're confused on what the bits mean, the easiest way of finding this out is just go to your search bar and type in System Information. And under System Information, new window is going to pop up and it's going to say system type. In my case, I've got a times 64 base PC. Now, if you've got a 32-bit, it's quite likely going to say 86. So in my case, I'm going to download the 64-bit. Now, we got two versions of this. We got the installer as well as the download. Now, what the installer is pretty much what it says. It's going to install it to your hard drive. What I'm going to do is download the portable version of this. Again, just left click and that's going to download. Next thing we're going to want to do is sign up with Screen Scraper so we can actually download some artwork once we're inside of EmulationStation. Now, this is absolutely free to sign up. For those of you who want thousands and thousands and thousands of artwork images or whatever downloaded, then you do need to pay for Screen Scraper. It won't break the bank, as you can see just there, €2, €5, €10. But I do know people will get into a sweat over this. But regardless, it's free to a certain extent, so you can still download, but you do need to sign up, which is absolutely free. Now, I'm always going to recommend itch.io. You can pick up some really awesome ROMs from this website, indie ROMs for old vintage platforms such as a Nintendo NES C64. So for example, I just typed into the search bar NES and I've gone to a NES game just here, and what I've done is just downloaded one of these, absolutely free in most cases, although some of these games on this website, they do cost some money. Okay, the next thing I'm going to suggest doing is that we're going to be doing PlayStation 1. Now, a lot of you might have games in that very annoying .q.bin format. Now, we can actually use a program here called CHDman, which is going to take away the Q and the bin files and compress everything into one single CHD file. Now, I always recommend this. It's going to make your games smaller in size, and it's also, like I say, going to get rid of those very annoying Q and bin files, which, like I say, very annoying stuff. So download CHDman. Okay, so we've now got everything that we need for this guide. So the first thing we're going to do then is take a look at the EmulationStation Desktop Edition zip folder. Now what I'm going to do is just extract the folder inside of this one to my desktop. Very easy. Okay, so now that's been extracted, what we can do is delete the zip folder of this, as we've just extracted what we need. So here's EmulationStation Desktop Edition. This is portable, obviously. First thing I'm going to do is create a shortcut so we can easily access the front end itself. If I just right click on the ESDE.exe, if I go to show more options, what I'm going to do just here is send to desktop create shortcut. And there we go. As we can see now on my desktop, I can easily access this. Next thing we need to do then is just open up this for the first time. Double left click. Okay, so the first thing you're likely going to see is about where your ROM directory is. So what we're going to do then is just quit out of here. I'm using my cursor keys for now, and I'm going to press enter button to quit out of this. Okay, so if we go back into the ESDE folder, if we just expand this, we're going to find a ROMs folder, and we also got ROMs_all. What I'm going to do is double left click in there, and at the top on the search bar, if I left click, I'm going to right click where everything is highlighted, copy. And now if I go back to ESDE again, what I'm going to do now is change ROM directory. If I press enter on this, and I'm going to backspace everything just here, if I press Control and V on my keyboard together, as we can see, that location is now put in place. So what I'm going to do is just go over to tick this, and OK. Now if I just quit out of here, okay, so the ROM path is now set up correctly, very easy stuff. So we need to start adding some games into ESDE. So if I go into the directory, I'm going to go to that ROMs all folder. Now, like I was saying at the start of the video, I've got a few systems here. So what I'm going to do is just add one by one. So I'm going to go to C64. And I've got some C64 games here. I've got a C64.disk image, or D64. And I've also got two CRT images, which are pretty much cartridge images. If I copy all these and paste them inside of that ROMs all C64 folder. Cool, and I'm going to delete my C64 games from the desktop just to save some space. And what I'm going to do next is add Nintendo NES. So if I just scroll down, I'm going to look for NES. Here's NES. And go into my NES folder. Got a couple of NES games here. And again, I'm going to copy and paste them into that ROMs all NES folder. Okay, now finally we got PlayStation 1, and what I was saying just a minute ago about a program called CHD Man, well, before we add games into EmulationStation for PlayStation 1, I'm going to show you how this really cool program works. So what we're going to do then is open up chdman.zip, which I downloaded just a minute ago, and I'm going to just create a new folder on my desktop. So right click, new folder, and I'm going to call this one chdman. If I drag and drop the contents from that chdman zip folder into that newly created folder, and again I'm going to delete the zip just here because I no longer need that one. Okay, so I've got my PS1 game in here, which is Tomb Raider, and as we can see, we've got lots of these irritating bin files. I mean, it's just a mess. So what we're going to do is convert this into CHD format. If I go into CHD Man, then what I'm going to do is drag and drop the top file just here, chdman.exe, and the next one down, which is qgdi iso to chd.bat. If I drag and drop both of these into that Tomb Raider folder, and what I'm going to do is double left click on the .bat file just here. And what this is now doing is converting the bin and Q files into CHD, and it's also going to give us a percentage so we know how long this is going to take. If we go back to the Tomb Raider folder, as we can see here, it's now generating a CHD image of that game. So we're just going to wait for this to compress. Okay, once that's finished, what we can now do is just drag out the .chd file of Tomb Raider. So just drag that onto the desktop. And I no longer need those Q and bin files, so I can literally just delete that altogether. So if we go back to the ESDE ROMs all folder, we've now got a PS1.chd game to add. So I'm just going to scroll down and look for PSX. Here we go. And I'm going to just drag in Tomb Raider.chd. Cool. Okay, so that's all our games in place. What we're going to do next then is open up EmulationStation. And here we go. So now we put those games into the ROMs_all folder. We can now see my systems. We got PlayStation, we got Commodore 64, and we got NES. Now let's try and open up one of these games. So I'm going to use my Xbox controller, and this configures automatically for me. So I've got two of my NES games just here. If I open up, say, Micromages, and it's going to give us an error because we've not actually done anything with retroarch yet, and we of course need retroarch in the background to power these games. So I'm going to exit out of EmulationStation. I'm going to press the start button on my controller and just go down to quit. And yes, Okay then, so we've downloaded RetroArch, and here's RetroArch just here. So first of all, I'm just going to extract this onto the desktop. Okay, that's now extracted onto my desktop, so what we're going to do next is just delete that archive of RetroArch, because again, we've extracted what we need from that. Now we got the RetroArch folder just here, and what we're going to do is actually put this into a specific folder within that EmulationStation Desktop Edition directory. This is going to go into the emulators folder. All we need to do then is drag and drop that RetroArch folder inside, just like so. Okay, so once that's in place, we're going to go into the RetroArch folder, and if we scroll downwards, we're going to open up retroarch.exe. Double left click. And this is going to open up RetroArch in a small window, as we can see. So first of all, what we need to do is turn this into a full screen mode. So every time we open a game through EmulationStation, rather than getting a small window like this, you'll get a full screen, which everyone wants pretty much. So what we're going to do this is go down to settings. I'm going to scroll over and go down to video. If I go down to full screen mode, start in full screen mode, I'm going to press the A button on my Xbox controller. And there we go, we now got full screen mode. If I press my B button to come out of here, main menu, and what I'm going to do next then is just go down to configuration file, save current configuration. Okay, so within RetroArch we need to download what I like to call micro emulators, which is often known as cores. We can actually download these from Online Updater. If we go into Online Updater, core downloader, and this is going to release every core for Windows RetroArch. Now, what we need to do is be very picky initially, that is, because after all, this video is for beginners. Let me show you what I mean. So we need to know which cores we need to download to power our game. So I'm going to go down to quit. And now, if we go back to the EmulationStation Desktop Edition directory, we're going to go to ROMs all. So first of all, I'm going to open up NES. So if we just scroll down, NES. Now in each one of these system folders, we're going to find a little dot text just there, system info. If we open this one up, what it's going to do just here, under launch command, it's going to give us a name. This is Meson_Libretro. So what we need to do is go back to RetroArch, and we need to look for the Nintendo Entertainment System Meson core. So what we're going to do then is open up RetroArch again. So emulators, and we're going to open up retroarch.executable, and this time around it should open up in a full screen. And there we go, full screen. So we're going to go back to Online Updater, core downloader, and we're going to look for that Nintendo Entertainment System Meson core. So if we go under the Nintendo area, here we go, NES Famicom Meson. So if I press A button to download this one, it's now generated a hashtag which tells us that it's been installed. If I press B to come out, and I always recommend going to configuration file and save in. And we're going to go to quit. Okay. Now what we're going to do is open up EmulationStation. Now if I go to Nintendo and open up one of my games again, press A. Okay, and I'm just going to exit out of this game, just pressing twice on the escape button. So as we can see, Nintendo Entertainment System is set up. We've also got a couple more systems to add, so we're going to look at Commodore 64 next and get you up to running generally Windows 8-bit and even 16-bit computer systems, which sometimes requires virtual keyboards to make things work. I'm going to press start button, quit ESDE, and yes. So again, we need to establish which core we should use. So what we're going to do is go back to the ROMs all folder, and this time we're going to look for C64. If we drop down here, again we got the system info. So if we open this up, now this is recommending device underscore times 64 SC core. So again, it's just a case of going back into RetroArch, which is of course under emulators. We're going to scroll down and open up RetroArch again. And we're going to download the core, which is under Online Updater, Core Downloader, and we're going to look for Commodore 64. Here's the core that EmulationStation is recommending us to. It's the Vice times 64 core. So download, and that one's now been installed. Now we can also add different cores through EmulationStation, but like I say, this is really a beginner's guide. What we're going to do next is, again, configuration file, save, and we're going to quit. Okay, so if we open up ESDE once again, Commodore 64, and I'm going to open up the first game I've got here. Okay, so if I press the select button on my controller, we got a virtual keyboard just here, and if you've got cracked games, then generally it's the run stop button you need to press to bypass those type of screens. We also got different options here for joypad mappings, that type of thing. It's fairly easy to use. So this is Commodore 64 through EmulationStation. Now let me give you a little hint. Through RetroArch we can actually fast forward loading times. If I press the spacebar on my keyboard, we can see a little fast forward has come. And again, I'm going to press the escape button twice just to exit out of that game, and it really is that simple. So finally, we got PlayStation to add. So again, I'm going to quit out of ESDE, and I'm going to show you where to put BIOS files. Okay, so first of all, what we're going to do is actually establish which core we're going to use for this. So we're going to go to that ROMs all folder again, and we're going to look for PSX, which we've been to before, and we're going to open up the system info. So this is actually suggesting we use the Mednafen PSX Libretto core. So we're going to need some BIOS files for this. So the easiest way to establish which BIOS files you need is literally go over to the RetroArch Libretto documents, and it's going to give you documentation here over which BIOS files are going to work with cores, that type of thing. So anyways, what we're going to do is actually put the BIOS files into place, and this is fairly simple to do. What we need to do is go to Emulators, RetroArch, and we're going to find a system folder here. If we open this up, and what we're going to do is just drag and drop our BIOS files inside of this system folder. Here's my BIOS files, and just drag and drop. I've got my PS1 game in place, so if we open up ESD again, and we go over to PlayStation, if I open up Tomb Raider, and of course, we can't open this because I've not downloaded the core. And this is what you're going to get if you don't download cores. We're not going to be able to open games. So what I'm going to do is quit once more, and yes. And we're going to open up RetroArch again, and we're going to download that Mednafen core. So I'm using the cursor this time, which you can also use. Okay, so we're going to look for PlayStation 1 or PSX. And we're going to find it if we just drop down here. Everything's in alphabetic order, so it's not entirely difficult to find things. Maybe this one's under Sony. Okay, so I'm going to download the Sony PlayStation Beetle PSX. I'm going to download a few more, actually. I'm going to go for this one here, and I'm going to go for PSX Rearmed. And I'm also going to download Swan Station. So we got several cores here for PlayStation. If I come out, configuration file, save current configuration, and quit. Okay, now we've got those cores downloaded, we're going to open up ESDE again. And if I go back to PlayStation, open up Tomb Raider. And here we go. Okay, we can press F1 once we're inside of a game using RetroArch, and we can do a lot from here. But for a more in-depth guide on RetroArch and getting to know the ins and outs of how it works, follow my beginner's guide for that. But just for now, I'm going to show you something really useful. If we go to Save States, Save State, and I'm going to press F1 again, and this time I'm going to go to State Slot, I'm going to go to 0, and go to Load State. And as we can see, that's now loaded back where I just saved it from. So anyways, let's quit out of here. And this time, we're going to download our game some artwork. So to do this, what I'm going to do is go into my main menu by pressing Start. I'm going to press A on Scraper, and make sure Screen Scraper is selected. Next thing I'm going to do is just go down to scrape these systems. If I go in here, I'm going to check C64, Nintendo Entertainment System, and Sony PlayStation. If I go back, now under account settings, we can actually put in our screen scraper user ID and password. If we go to content settings, we can define what we want to download. I'm going to leave everything as default. And I'm going to go to Start. We're going to come out of here and we're going to go into PlayStation. Now what we can actually do from here is change cores that we use. If I press Start, go to main menu, I'm going to go to other settings, alternative emulators, PSX, and as we can see here, we got a list of supported cores. Now I downloaded PSX Rearmed just a minute ago, as well as Swan Station. If I choose Rearmed, and what I'm going to do is come out and open up the game again with that course now selected. And here we go, we're now playing Tomb Raider with that specific RetroArch core. And just remember, by pressing the spacebar, we can fast forward. Okay, other things we can do inside of EmulationStation is actually download new themes. If I go to UI settings, theme downloader, proceed. We've now got a list of different themes we can download. So let's go for something I'm not too familiar with. We have got Atari 50 menu. We got Aurora. I'm going to download this one. So press A, downloading theme. And this has now been installed, so we need to apply this very easily by just going down to theme. And here we go, we now got the Aurora theme, which is in this theme section. If I select this one and come out, and here we go, we now got a totally new style of EmulationStation, which looks pretty funky. And that's it for today's EmulationStation Desktop Edition setup guide from Windows PC. So like I said through the video, if you want a more in-depth tutorial for RetroArch, how to funk things up, including adding bezels to your games, etc., check out the link in my comments section and that will take you straight to that video, which is really useful in a lot of cases. So anyways, if you're new to my channel, hit notifications, subscribe and like so you don't miss upcoming retro emulation content here on my channel, just Jamie. That means you'll get notified every time I release a new setup guide, and it really helps out my channel too. Anyways, until next time, stay retro.